In today's video, we have a few rules. Number one, I cannot touch the default cube in any way. There is an exception to this rule, and that is rule number two, which is where I can only operate on the top face of the cube. I can't touch anything else. And number three is I'm not allowed to scale the cube in any way. I'm not allowed to do anything else except to work on that top face. The reason we're going to do this is because this is a very, very powerful way to practice not only your design skills, but also your modeling skills as well. Now, if you're brand new to hard surface modeling, this is going to be pretty advanced. In that case, I would recommend you go and enroll in our Hard Surface Academy program that is linked in the top of the description. Go check it out. That's going to give you access to our entire course suite, so all of our training programs for Blender. You'll also get anytime one-on-one calls with Ryu and I, unlimited direct messaging if you need help, and also weekly Q&A calls in there. So you'll get all the training material plus all the personal access to us so we can help you. And again, just go to the link in the top of the description. There's a full video there explaining exactly what that program will do for you, and I think it'll be very, very helpful in your hard surface modeling journey. So again, the rules here are I have to work on this top face, all right? So I can't do anything, can't scale this. All I can really do is work on this upper face here. So naturally what I'm going to start doing, and by the way, I can add stuff to the top face. I just can't edit anything else, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to start in here by adding in some sort of detail here on the top. I'm going to go ahead and go into face snap mode. I'm going to snap to this face right here. Then I'm going to move this back a little bit. And I'm going to take this edge. I can also just take this face here, just move that up. We'll just kind of move that back a little bit. And then I can kind of scale that in. Kind of like that. And I could even do something just kind of like that. Now I'm just going to kind of move this a bit forward like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and run a union boolean. And what I'll have to do is go to the object and turn on exact, and then we'll just go in 3 with machine tools, X, limited dissolve, set this to about 0.1 so we're not dissolving out any weird areas, and this is going to be our first start to this, okay? So first thing I want to try doing is maybe beveling this area right here. We could also try beveling with that positioning as well. So I could go in, we could do something like that. We can go in and bevel that, and then I can go in and bevel something like that to create this type of shape. Now naturally I'm going to have a little bit of an overlap right there, so what I could try doing here is I could just slightly move that back, can bevel that a little bit, and then that'll just give us some more space. And then we'll just shade auto smooth, and that's going to kind of be our first detail here on the top. So we're just going to keep kind of building on this, and you know, again, we're only allowed to work on the top face, so I can't really touch anything else. So we're just going to keep iterating on this design here. So for this one, I'm just going to go down, and most of what I'm doing here is trial and error. I don't necessarily know if these design choices will look good. I'm literally just going in and testing things. Okay, so that's what I would recommend you do as well. I could also kind of move that over. And again, I don't know if this will look good, but we are going to try it. Okay, what I think I'll do is keep the initial detail here. And maybe we could just go in, bevel this area only. I might need to apply the scale. And then we can just get in, can scale that in a bit, and just kind of bevel that. Bevel this as well. And we're going to need to shade auto smooth on that object and just slightly adjust the angle value. Just make sure that it doesn't catch anywhere. What I could also do is just apply that boolean. I can adjust the sharpen value so it doesn't pick up any weird areas. And then I would just go in here and mark that as a sharp, kind of more manually, all right? Cool, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in here, we're going to use box cutter for this particular part. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to press Alt W to turn on box cutter. This is a paid plugin, so if you don't have it, make sure you pick it up. It's 38 bucks. And then we're just going to go in here and we're going to add that type of detail. And what I could do is, again, this is still technically on the top face. I'm going to count that. I think that's fine. But I don't really want to extrude that all the way through. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do here is bevel that area with a shade auto smooth on that. And then again, just make sure that's kind of capturing the right area. Maybe I don't even want that much of a bevel. Maybe something like that will be enough. Cool, looks good. And I can't bevel this. Actually, maybe I can. Let's see how, yeah, I don't have a ton of space to really bevel right there. It's going to be tricky. I'm just going to leave that alone. Just going to be glitchy, annoying to fix. Now, what I want to do here is I want to take these edges on this. This is technically attached to the top face, this edge. So I guess we'll count it. I don't think this is really cheating, but we're going to do something kind of like that. I don't really consider this cheating. It's still on the top face. So we're going to go in, I'm just going to kind of bevel that. And that just kind of makes an interesting shape there, right there on the top. And then what I kind of want to do here is just add in a small cube. We're going to put it right in this area. Then what I want to do is go onto that cube, just add in a beveled loop cut and just kind of make this type of shape right here. And then what I could even do is I can go in, I can scale this in a little bit. And I could even go into this area and just add in a quick bevel. Something kind of like that. Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. And then we're just going to go to this part right here. We can bevel that. And we can bevel this area here as well. Actually, maybe not. That's not going to work very nicely. But we'll just leave that area alone. So now we kind of have that. And what I want to do is start concentrating as many details as possible in this interior area, because that's going to bring a lot of visual interest onto this inner portion. So if you can get good at that, you'll be able to make your designs look more, at the very least, interesting, because you'll know how to stack and kind of concentrate detail in one particular area, right? We're just going to kind of keep working on that. I could also go in, you can break the kind of cubic form a little bit by even introducing, you know, cylindrical effect. It just kind of depends where you would place that. You can also just keep like an actual shape in there, but I don't think that's going to fit too well quite yet, so we're just going to leave that alone. Then we'll just go in and let's go ahead and move this up a little bit. Okay, and then just move that back. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and apply all the booleans. I'm not going to be like too picky about working non-destructively on this project, but what I will do here is get a sharp marking applied. Sharp marking applied here as well. Now let's just make sure the auto smooth is good and recalculated. There we go. And then same for this area, just make sure that is marked as sharp so the auto smooth doesn't mess with anything. It's looking pretty good so far. I could also go in here, maybe, and again just run a limited dissolve. In this area, it's not going to bevel too nicely here. So maybe if I leave that alone, but not so much, still going to pinch a little bit in there. So we'll leave that just as it is. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And then what we'll kind of do here is we'll go in, we'll drop in a cube. We'll do something kind of like this. Okay. And let's just do one more bevel kind of in this area. And you can do a shape kind of like that. And let's just kind of move this back. Again, the auto smooth is probably just going to need to be a lower angle to catch the areas you want. You can just leave it low by default and then just kind of, you know, fix it up later. It doesn't matter that much. But what I do want to do here is add in, again, a bevel. Just going to make it look better. Not too worried about the pinching effect there on the end. Doesn't matter because it's not affecting the actual main objects here. But so far we've created a bit of an interesting type of form right here. So I could actually go in, maybe go to the back, put some details here. And again, we're still working on the top face, so we're not really breaking any of the initial rules. At least I don't consider to be doing that. Okay, that looks pretty cool. And again, like, the more you kind of practice what I call form modeling, is the more you can kind of understand how to make your models get more visual appeal, right? Because when you can get really good at that, like the bevels start flowing nicely, the shapes start flowing nicely, just everything kind of comes together a lot more nicely when you're doing like actual models, whether they're functional or not, doesn't matter. It's just going to look a heck of a lot better. What I'm going to do here is scale this and just kind of make a cut straight through there. That is technically going through, yeah, I don't think that looks very good. I'm going to leave that alone for right now. But what I could do is I could actually go in here and just do a basic slice operation. And what you always want to do if you're just kind of eyeballing the cut, you always want to mirror the actual cutter so it's even, okay? Just make sure you do that. Now the moment you add a slice operation is the moment you will have two separate objects. This can introduce a lot of complications, so just be wary of that if you do add a slice operation. I'm okay with doing that right now because I want to make this type of shape, whatever you want to call that. And then what I want to do here is actually go in and just kind of make a cut like that. Cool. And then again, like I said, if you're just eyeballing the cut, make sure you run a mirror so it's actually symmetrical. You might have eyeballed it pretty well, but I still do that anyways. So we're just going to add that in and do that. Then we could actually go in here. I could just apply all the booleans if you're done. Doesn't matter that much. You can just do a little chamfer right there. And the only thing I don't like is this this portion here. What I think I can do just to make this look cooler is I could probably go in, we can apply this mirror modifier, dissolve that, Alt-N on this top face, and then I can just run like a reverse bevel kind of on that top face just to make a chamfer right there. And then on top of that, I could do a bevel kind of like that, which I think looks alright. Yeah, we're going to go in here next and we're just going to concentrate a few more details kind of in this area here on the top. So let's go in, let's move this face down. Could even scale that a bit. Let's do the bottom edges right here. Could kind of scale that a bit in. Slightly bevel that. And just introduce some more. I don't really know what the name of this would be, but you can kind of see how we have a lot of vertical, you know, parallel lines flowing. These are very, very interesting ways just to add more detail to your actual shapes, so you can try that. Let me go ahead, limited dissolve. I don't know what's going on here. Looks like this isn't technically flat. I don't know what this junk is, just gonna dissolve that. And we can go in here, just do like a chamfer. Maybe even a larger one. Just like that. And another thing you can do when you're trying to test like different shapes and sizes, you can just turn off overlays and see which effect looks the best to you. So you can just kind of play with that, see what you like. see what looks interesting and kind of just stick with that. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to go into Material Works and turn on the HDRI and also my favorite material, which is this graphite steel. And then I'm just going to add a second graphite steel and give this one a little bit of a different color. Now what we're going to need to do just to really see this better is just rotate the HDRI. Let's also turn on bevel for both of these so we have a nice bevel shader right on the edge. So now we can actually see this a bit nicer with a studio HDRI, and you can kind of see like how the shape looks, some of the problems with it. You can see right now we need to add in a weighted normal, and that should fix that problem. It's always good to have weighted normals just kind of pinned to the bottom. It's not really going to do anything negative unless you don't have an actual bevel, then it could mess with the shading, but that would be very obvious. You can actually pin the weighted normals here to the last in the stack. I would recommend doing that because when you start adding in modifiers or whatever you end up adding, you want the weighted normal to stay at the end of the stack. You don't want hard ops to mess with it. Just leave it, right there at the end. Weighted normals, just trust me on this, should always be at the end of the stack. You can just mindlessly accept that as truth. It doesn't really matter. Excuse me. I inhaled something. I don't know what it was. It's like a fucking mosquito or something. But anyways, I'll just leave that in as a bit of humor. So we're gonna add that type of shape right there, and you can see all I've done so far is literally just worked on the top face of the cube, and I've done nothing really that complex. I guess it depends how much of a beginner you are. That's why I'd recommend, if you are a beginner, get in our academy program. Let us help you. Let us guide you through the process. Let us give you the right trainings. It'll save you a lot of time. Months, if not years of time. Just cut off your learning process. So that's always going to be linked in the top of the description if you want to join. And again, if we go here into our rendered mode, we can actually see everything a lot more nicely. So I would recommend doing that. I would also recommend adding a bit of wear and tear, just because it looks, you're going to see more of what the final result will be in terms of like detail, right? So I like to go in here. Usually I'll just go in and just use like a random detail. It could even be like a smudge. Doesn't really matter, but it's just going to add an extra layer of detail to the actual design, which I personally think looks really good. You can do the same thing to this one. And you could even add in like extra layers. You can do scratches, particles. Scratches are pretty cool. Just kind of adds like an extra layer to the surface of the metal, which I think looks good. So I can go here, do like 0.05 on that one. And same for this guy, you can just add another wear layer. You would, this is with Material Works, by the way. If you don't have that, it's included in our academy program. But just kind of, elevates the look, especially when we go here into rendered mode and just try to see the overall detail. I just think it looks better. So we're just going to continue on as we were doing. I'm going to go in. I'm going to, let's go in here. Do something kind of like that. Not sure how good that'll look, but we're going to add that in. Another option is I could turn this into another slice operation. I think that might be a bit too heavy in terms of detail. Yeah, so I don't like that. I'm just going to do a small detail right there. Should be fine. And then what I can do is I can go in and I can start kind of adding additional detail more or less to this area here. And I'm not too sure how I want to go about that, but we'll figure something out. So let me just get in there, maybe add in kind of that extra layer of detail right there, which I think looks good. And then we're going to go to this side. We're just going to add in some details right here. So let's go ahead and bevel that, but not all the way. We can just do like a smaller type of bevel, move that down a little bit, just do something kind of like that. Also, some of these details we could add with decals instead of real geometry, so keep that in mind. We can do that later though. I'm going to go ahead and smart apply right there, and let's apply that bevel as well. And we're just going to go to this bottom area, and bevel that. And let's mirror that to the other side. There we go. Then we'll just get in here. What I think I'm going to do is apply that boolean, and I should have access to this face right here. If I control click on curve extract, that'll extract the face right there. That will give me basically an additional detail here, and I can just remove all the booleans on it because it'll carry over those modifiers, and I can kind of extrude this down, shade this auto smooth, and then just set the origin to the geometry and just kind of dig a detail kind of like that. All I got to do is rotate it like that, not all the way, just a little bit. I think that'll look good. And then all I really need to do here is get in, just mirror that one over. I could even go into this face and extrude this down straight on the Z to make a effect like that. I think that's a bit too strong. I'm just going to leave that alone as is, and yeah, that should be fine. Let me just go in here. Let's add in a chamfer. Might need to apply the other ones. Just depends if you want that effect. We can just take a look at how this entire form is coming along. It's pretty interesting. So what I want to do now is, first of all, we have a bit of a shading error right here. It's just going to happen naturally by nature of booleans on a curved surface. You can easily mitigate that by adding some loops here. Just depends how much you want to stress about it. I'm not too particularly concerned. So let's go in here. Let's add a cube. And let's just add right here at the back. Maybe something in here like this. I'm going to run a difference boolean right there. Kind of like that. And then what I want to do here is I want to press Q, settings, shift click on shade solid. That'll just take that cutter, make it solid, and move it out of the cutter's collection. If you're wondering what that does, we're just going to kind of move this back here. Going to scale that a little bit as well. Make a little shape like that. Going to bevel that slightly. Something simple, and then we're going to go in here and take another cube. You can see I'm not doing anything particularly complex. I'm just working with existing shapes using basic objects. Like there's a some of you guys may have heard of it if you're like engineers or something. Occam's razor, which basically means the simplest solution tends to be the best. So when you start trying to like overcomplicate things, it's doesn't always work out in your favor because it's just usually not the best solution. So I try to follow that in my own workflow and general day-to-day life because it's very easy for us to, super overcomplicate things for no reason, just part of the game. So yeah, it is what it is, but just try to keep that in mind, something that helps me a lot in my workflow and hopefully will help you as well. The simplest solution is almost always the best. I mean, you can see that in all sorts of different, niches, fields, things like that. Even like physics, mathematics, whatever. It's almost always just very, very basic solutions. Anyways, that's what I clearly begin to talk about when I'm just like focused on modeling. So there you go. Let's go in here, dissolve that so we have some space. And that's not going to give me a very clean bevel, so let's not do that. Let's just leave that alone. And we're just going to keep building on this. What I want to do here is take another cube, but just really scale this down and kind of move this up. And just kind of run a boolean here, and then kind of a boolean right there. And we can kind of scale that back. And there we go. And we'll just kind of move this up. So far, so good. And then what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to duplicate this. Actually, yeah, I'll duplicate this. Scale this down a bit, rotate this a bit on the Y, and kind of move that down. That'll give us like a little shape we can use right there. And you can already see how these clusters of detail really bring a lot of focus to this this particular area here. So super cool. Let's go in, let's add that. Q, settings, shift click. Actually, you know what? We'll just duplicate this again. I'll probably use this as a cutter again. And then I'll rotate this 90 degrees that way. And we'll do something simple like that. Let's go ahead and see how this looks. So yeah, kind of coming together, looks pretty interesting. What I think I'll do next is make like detail in here. This could be like a piece of technology almost. So even if your model doesn't have any real design behavior like functionality, you can make it look like it does. You'll see this a lot in films or video games or concept art. The engineering and the functionality might not always make sense, but it provides the illusion that it does make sense. So you can actually do that pretty heavily in your own workflow, even if it doesn't make sense. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to go in here and then settings, shift click on shade solid. And I'm going to go in here and bevel that out a little bit. And then let's just go in and turn on box cutter. Going to go in and cut down V to array that. We'll give this the same material this one has. You can shift click, Alt M, sorry, this one and then this one, Alt M. Is it Alt M? Maybe it's Control C. So to access that menu, you actually have to turn on a menu called copy, or an add-on. It's called copy attributes. Just go in here, click on install, and then that should pop up, and then you can go in here, Control C, and you should be able to copy the materials. Might actually be wrong here. Either way, we can just go in. There's another way to do it here, copy material to selected. So like there's a million different ways to do these things, but figured I'd just bring that up. So this one will have the graphite steel, this one will have the other one. So this one's like slightly lighter, kinda. And this area here is slightly darker. And if you can't really see that, it's probably the lighting just too bright. But you can see this is actually, you know, a lot darker. It just kind of depends on which angle you're looking at it with the light, right? So what I'll do here is darken that a bit more. And that should look fine. What we can also do here inside of the viewport display, we can actually change the color in here to make that a little bit darker as well. Just kind of gives you an idea of which areas are going to be separate, which areas aren't. Also, let's make sure we do the same thing to this piece right here. So I'm going to select that one, shift click on this one, go here, copy material to selected, and boom, there we go. I could also try the other one, just if I want a different color. Doesn't particularly matter that much. So there we go, everything's looking nice. I could probably, yeah, this should be good. All right, let's go back to this this front area here. I really want to bring a lot more focus to this position, so we're just going to get in here. I'm going to make a small cut into this area. kind of like that. Can make this a little bit thinner as well. And then we can go in here and we can make an additional kind of detail right there. Again, this is mostly a modeling exercise. Don't take what I'm doing as like a literal design, right? I mean, this is just practice. This is modeling practice, visual balance practice. That's all I'm doing right here. Just very, very basic stuff. Now again, guys, let me pause here. If you need help with any of this stuff, if you need to speak to us directly, get on some one-on-one calls, shoot us a message, or maybe you just want access to our training programs, we can get you very, very proficient at hard surface modeling in a very short period of time, but it's not going to happen through YouTube tutorials. You need a structured curriculum with us right there next to you to help you. If you want access to that, go to the link in the top of the description. That's going to take you to our Hard Surface Academy page. You can watch the video on there, see what the program is all about, and if you're interested in joining that, you can just have a chat with us and we'll walk you through everything. So again, that'll be linked in the top of the description or in the pinned comments. Seriously, guys, let us help you out. I know you probably don't see it just watching the tutorial, but when we're right there next to you, where you can literally shoot us a call, shoot us a text message, share your work, get feedback, and actually have access to the right training material, it's a night and day difference in terms of how quickly you're going to learn. So again, you can check out our academy and the link in the top of the description. All right, we're going to start digging into this front area right here. It's going to be probably one of the most detailed areas by the time we're done with it. So I'm going to get in here and just start working on this a bit more. The first thing I want to do is I want to get to this area and then just run a simple wedge cut. Let me go to Object Snap. We're going to get in here and just press W to flip that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that, duplicate this, kind of scale that down, and we're going to run something like that. Now, technically this is on the side face, but I started the cut on the top. So maybe that's cheating, maybe it's not, but there you go. So we're just going to continue with that. And then basically what I want to do here is I want to make a detail here. And I think I have an idea for this one. I'm going to scale this up. I'm going to move this back, and I'm going to move this to maybe right up against this vertex right here. Then I'm just going to move that down. I'm going to move this up, and let me just scale this in. Or what I could do is I could actually no, I think we'll scale the whole thing in. Let's scale this a bit. First, let me bring this up and let me scale this. And then let me go in here, apply that scale. I'm going to get into... Actually, I don't think that's going to look good. I have a better idea. Let me get to this piece. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this... there's a lot of booleans here. I'm going to apply this one. And I'm going to apply this one here as well. What I want to do is I want to add in a cut right there. And then just join that. I'm going to bevel this area. And basically what I want to do is I want to extrude this up on the Z. And then take this one. I want to extrude this as well, but I need to extrude manifold. So Alt-E, extrude manifold. So that way we have that result, and then we should have a, we're probably going to have like a, actually no, that's fine. So the difference, just to show you, between extrude, when I extrude this, look what happens. When I do extrude manifold, Alt-E, it extrudes manifold, which is super powerful. So we're going to do that. We're going to add in a few bevels right there, and right there. You can just do a quick symmetry on that one. And we're also going to do a few here. And then we're going to go here to this area. Take these edges right here. We take that. And then I just want to get in here and I just want to scale that down. It's not giving me the exact situation I was going for before. So what I might need to do here, because that's not going to work very well, I might need to quickly undo this before I add those bevels. Then I can probably scale this in, kind of get the shape I want. Oops, wrong button. And probably need to join that because that's going to be bent a little bit. Not a huge deal. And then I can just get in here. I can get that beveled, right? And then I can get in here, probably get this beveled. Just run a quick limited dissolve. Okay, so that's not going to be flat. So what I'll do is I'll stick with this. We can get in here. We can still bevel this. That's just going to be a little bit messy there on the side. This whole area. Could dissolve that, and it's probably going to look okay. So we'll just do that, even though it's bent. And then we're just going to have that type of shape. And then I can literally go in here, get this area beveled like before, get this area here beveled like before, and then I would just go in, select this entire portion. Let me first symmetrize that, and just get that beveled. And let me turn off loop slide right there. Just limited dissolve that, and now we have that type of cool looking shape right there. Pretty interesting. And we're going to go in here. Let's just get this merged together, and then I can just add like a chamfer in there. Then we'll just do a little bevel right there, little bevel right here. You can't really see too much on the inside there anyways. And yeah, there we go. That's kind of the front area. Doesn't look too bad. And then I just want to go to this piece. I want to, oops, it's this one. This one has a mirror. I just want to go to this edge and bevel that, and that should be fine. I could even add a, actually no, that should be fine as well. I could go to the tops of these and just add in a quick chamfer, which should be fine as well. And we're going to kind of have this result. And yeah, so far so good. Now I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to get another cut going on this particular area, just like that. That can go down to about that point. I could even take that and kind of extend it. There we go. And let's just go ahead and symmetrize that, or just run a mirror so that way it's even. So now we're going to kind of have that right there. Then I can always scale that a bit if I want to. Just kind of depends what you're going for. Alright, so far so good. I'm going to go here and I'm just going to add in a cube right here to this area. This cube is going to go up and it's going to get scaled. And then this one's going to go over to here. And then that one is going to, let me see. Let's do that. And then let's go ahead and move this back. Oh wait, I can't because I beveled that. Let's just go in, take this bottom face, because the higher up this face is, the smaller the scale effect is going to be. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to scale that up. I'm going to position that right to about there. Maybe more towards the side. Let's just mirror that to the other side so I can kind of see how that looks. And we'll just go ahead and apply the scale. I'm going to get in here. Let's bevel that. Let's actually bevel all of these at the same time. Kind of like that. I can even move this face up if I want. Doesn't really matter. Now what I want to do here is I want to union this to the actual surface. Alright, so let's move this up just slightly, and you're not really going to see that effect just because the auto smooth hasn't picked it up, but it is there. You can see the hump, whatever you want to call that, and we're going to add a bevel between that anyway. So we're just going to go in, apply that. Basically what I want to just do here is get a nice smooth bevel that's going to look really clean on the surface. And then here on, actually, let me make sure my loop slide feature is turned on. Otherwise that bevel is going to be skewed a little bit. You can kind of see what's happening right here. So I could turn off loop slide, but then it kind of pinches it. So let me show you a cool trick right here. What I can do is I can do something called a star connect. Now I need to see if that setting is still available. It might be in Mira Tools. I honestly don't remember. I can search for it. So it is in here. This one is in Mesh Machine, I guess. But anyways, what I'm going to do here is run a star connect. Okay? And then I'm also just going to make a better connection point right here so I can dissolve that. Now what's going to happen is when I bevel this, it'll bevel along that area. But you see we have the same issue over here. Again, I could turn off loop slide, but it messes with the bevel curvature. So what I actually want to do is the same idea. I could literally just add in, like, you can just go in here, add like a temporary vertex, and then just dissolve it out when you're done. So now I can go here, use that as a guiding bevel, see what that's doing. Can do the same thing over here. And again, it doesn't matter how messy this looks, so we're going to get rid of it in a second. But now that's acting as a guiding bevel, and I can go in, I can make that result, and then literally I just run a limited dissolve, get rid of this junk, because it doesn't matter. So I just get in, just dissolve that out. Let's just make a better connection point right here, because every boolean needs 2 connection points. This one just isn't very good. And then we're just going to add a connection point here as well. The more perpendicular they are, the less issues you're going to have. And just like that, we got ourselves a clean bevel, which is great. Then I can go up here to the top and kind of do, you know, more of a similar thing. Get that symmetrized over to the other side, right? And then there we go. Now I can just kind of go in here and just continue with my modeling. So I just go in. And at this point, I'm just going to make a backup file, save incremental, and then just apply all my booleans, because it's going to get laggy if I have too many booleans in the modifier stack. So just make a backup, save the booleans, and you'll be fine. I'm going to get in here and add in this detail. Okay, let's get in, let's bevel this and that. It's starting to look very interesting. Cool, so that's all looking good. And I like how that kind of looks. I think it looks interesting. We can also view this in our rendered view just to kind of see how that looks, which is very, very clean. Definitely like that. You can see how these parallel lines just really flow nicely with each other by doing like barely anything. And also that bevel shader gives you a really, really nice bevel, even if there's not a real bevel around there. So Material Works, again, you just turn that on, you have a bevel. Makes it look really clean. Without it, it's just like, you can kind of see the difference there. It just looks better with the bevel. It gets that nice edge highlight. So anyways, there we go. Alright, next thing I'm going to do here is something to the side. This is where you're really going to see some more complex hard surface modeling tricks and things like that. Because if you don't know how to do this, then you know you're going to get stuck in situations like this. What I want to do is a similar thing. Okay? This is going to get a little bit advanced, but bear with me, because you're going to learn something very useful. So I'm going to get in here. I'm going to move this to this area. Alright? And basically I'm just going to go into this part, chamfer that so it's kind of following that chamfer. That's called echoing, if you didn't know that. Then we're just going to add a bevel right there. We're going to go in here, make sure the scale's applied. We're going to bevel that. And then we're going to maybe, no, actually, I think that'll be fine. And now what I want to do is take this upper area as well. And we're just going to bevel that. Okay, and then what I want to do, actually before I do that bevel, what I actually want to do is scale this in. So I can actually inset this and then take these outer edges here, and I could dissolve those out, but it's not really giving me the result I want. So let me think how I want to do this. I can actually isolate the view with / on the number pad. So if I want to kind of get that desired result, maybe I should... Okay, that's not going to work very well, so just trying to think how I want to approach this. So again, I could go over here, I could just kind of dissolve out that stuff. It'll kind of give me the result I want. So I go like a layer deeper, but you know what? I think this will be fine. But I know it's going to bother me, so let me actually undo this before I added those bevels. Let me kind of scale some of these areas in a little bit. So I can kind of scale that in, because I just know it's going to bother me. It's kind of the result I want. And then again, I can go back in here. I can add that bevel there. I can add these bevels here. Just make sure the scale's applied. I can add these bevels here. And I think that'll be good enough. Now what I need to do is I need to union this to this. So we're just going to run a union boolean, then we're going to apply this boolean right here. Now what I want to do essentially is bevel this area, but we have this overlapping geometry. If this were CAD, this wouldn't be an issue, but we're not in CAD. So what we need to do here is utilize a tool called Mesh Machine. You've probably seen this before in other videos. We're going to go in here into the offset cut feature, and I'll be honest, sometimes Blender crashes when you use this, so just keep that in mind. But what I want to do here is try to get this to work. So we're just going to go in. We can fix this right here, don't worry about that. But that's going to give us a little bit of buffer. It's going to eat the surrounding geometry. I can increase the factor to make that smoother. And then all I need to do is go in here and add in my, my bevel. And then we're going to have that very nicely. Now you can see this is quite a mess right here. So what I'm first going to do is just get this positioned right where I want it. We also can try using the exact solver or using the smooth iteration. Sometimes smooth, if you just turn that on, it just really does a better job. So just turn that on, and the factor we can set to 2, maybe 1.8. That should work. And then here for this area, this is a bit of a mess, so I might need to do is just kind of mess with these settings until there we go. So if we set that to exact, it kind of worked. Put that to smooth, there we go. It's very fiddly, but it gets the job done. So now what I can actually do here is I can just go in, I can just get that patched, not a big problem. And then I can just go in, and now I have buffer. Before you do a limited dissolve, actually you could do that right now technically, but what I would recommend doing is getting that bevel in there, just like that. There we go. And then I can just run a quick limited dissolve to the messy areas here. This is all basically junk. This is, you know, kind of one of the downsides of this workflow in a polygon modeling software. So I'm just trying to figure out kind of the best approach here to get this sorted nicely. And there's not going to be too much we can do. So I could obviously get in there, I could do that. And then you could run like a basic limit dissolve and just try to, you know, just get rid of some of this junk. And that's going to give you like somewhat of the result you want. What I think a better option here would be, this is just going to make it operate better. We can go here to this top part. We can bevel this, okay? Just this top part only. Let me just unmark that. And whenever I do that, that's going to allow us to have a full cyclic offset cut. Okay, so let me first of all turn this back to fast. And when you have a cyclic offset cut like that, it kind of wraps around the model. If I don't add that bevel, this offset cut's just going to break. It's not going to have like a smooth corner to go around. So that's kind of one of the solutions there that works very, very well. That's probably the best solution I would give you. So I'm just going to get in there. Oops, unmark that. And then this offset cut's going to perform like very, very nicely. So just get in here. I know it's slightly laggy, but you'll find a spot that works, like right there, for example. Leave the smooth on. That's probably the best choice. You could also try a higher factor if you want. I think 1.8 here works good, nice and smooth, and then I can just get in there, add that in. You're naturally going to have shading errors, by the way. To fix those, you would just go in here and just run a simple Boolean cleanup. We don't need any of this down here selected, by the way. So we can just get in, just deselect that. And let's go in, Boolean cleanup. We can scroll up and choose the other direction. That doesn't work very well. Actually, I think that works fine. And there we go. Now that's going to clean up a lot of the shading very nicely, just because we kind of join that in a good spot. So now we kind of have that really smooth type of bevel going around there. That's kind of how you would imitate more of a CAD workflow inside of Blender. It's the best way you're going to be able to do it. I mean, second best would technically be sub D, but if you really want to do like a whole sub D workflow to make this, good luck with that. That's all I have to say. So we're going to go in and get that mirrored over. And you can see, like, especially in a rendered mode, like if you're making a piece of concept art or a product design, this geometry here, as messy as it might seem, does not matter. If you were to go into CAD and make the same exact model and export this to Blender, the topology would look even worse because it's a completely different workflow. This is why when people are saying use sub D, use quads, with no context, they are objectively incorrect. So that's my little rant right there. So there we go. We have a very, very clean looking bevel. That piece there on the front looks nice. So far, so good. Now I kind of want to do the same thing here to this side, but I just want it to be a very, very basic detail. I don't want this to be anything crazy. So I'm just going to go in, E to extrude, and press the J key. That will just do a join operation. Then I can literally just get in here. I can scale this on the X. Just like that. Scale X. I don't know what's going on here. I have another one selected. So scale X. Just like that. And then we're just going to get in here and just do a little detail kind of like that. Nothing crazy. And if I go into rendered mode, it's actually going to pick up a bevel nicely because I can't really add an easy bevel right there, but the bevel shader does a very nice job at kind of adding that in. And then I can just go in here and mirror that cut over there to the other side. And I think it's a bit too long, so I'm just going to go in here, just move that back. Just make it like a small piece there in the back. Just like that. And I could even scale this down a little bit. And the nice thing is you're just going to see the bevel shader picks it up no matter where it's positioned. It's like a dynamic kind of bevel, so which is super nice. All right, I'm going to start the decaling process because I think we're kind of at that point. So I'm just going to press W. That'll put us back into Material Works menu. And just as a reminder, Material Works now has our decal and trim sheet library built into the tool. So what I mean by that is if I go into this menu here, you can add these decals literally by clicking a button. So you can buy that separately, but it's also included in the Hard Surface Academy. So if you plan to join that, you might as well just not buy it separately because it's included already. This is the best texturing and detailing tool for hard surface models on the market. Objectively speaking, there is nothing else out there that does what this tool can do. So I could get into that, but that's kind of outside the scope of this tutorial. So I'm just going to get in here. I'm going to start adding in my decals. I can go in here and adjust the material. You can just do that. And it will also inherit the textures, which is very nice. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I can just get in here and, to start adding decals. These are a lot easier than, trying to model the stuff in manually, right? So that's why I recommend using decals. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to add in one of these. It's kind of like this one almost, the real detail that we added in, but this is just going to be a decal in this case. And that's the nice thing, is it can sit on top of the geometry without any sort of issues because it's a decal. It's like a floating piece of geometry, right? So we're just going to go in there. For this one, I might need to move this up and then shrink wrap it. And we can just smear that to the other side. And you can see a lot of these details don't even look like fake geometry, right? They look like real details. You just can't tell. So I'm going to go to one of these things. I know this is in like Japanese, so I couldn't tell you what this stuff says because Ryu made these. These are from In Real Life, by the way. So these are super cool decals because I can literally go in here and just get in there. We can shrink wrap that. We can reduce the alpha value so it's lighter. I actually don't like the position of that one, so what I'm going to do is position it here. So we just get in, we do something like that. We would do a shrink wrap, and then we would just drop the alpha value pretty low, kind of like that. That's another option. Then I could go here. You could add like all sorts of other decals. We have these are called info decals because they have information on them. So you would just really get in here and just kind of drop these in. Alt R to clear the rotation on that. And you can just kind of add in those decals as you see fit. By the way, I'm gonna go in here. You can just copy what I'm doing. I'm going to add in a mix shader, and by the way, I don't know how this, I don't do nodes. This was made by ChatGPT, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to plug the mix shader into Surface, and all I'm doing here is copying from my other monitor in ChatGPT, because again, I'm not a node person. I don't mess with nodes. If I need to use nodes for something, I ask ChatGPT how to set it up. Because I don't care. I don't like nodes. They're scary. Not my thing. So I guess this one's going to go into factor. And then the background here is going to go into this one. And it's not quite giving me the result that I want. Oh wait, I know why. That's because the transparent needs to be turned off. Now that's just going to give us a black background, but it's also going to maintain the lighting, which is super cool, because without that, it would just be this, or transparent turned on. I don't like that. I want to have just a black background because it's more sci-fi looking. You can just see how clean it is to look at the model now. So you can kind of see what I mean. The goal of this tutorial, I'm not done yet by the way, but the goal was to take just the top face of the default cube and make something interesting. Just to show you that you don't need anything more than some basic modeling tools and some basic design principles to make interesting looking models like this. And again, we teach you how to do all of this in our Academy program. and you'll be right there next to us. You can ask us for help, ask us questions, ask for feedback. Hey Josh, am I doing this right? It's like super high leverage way to just get very good very quickly. I know I keep, shouting that out, but it's a very good product, and it's something we just reopened, and I think you're gonna love it. If you're doing any sort of hard surface modeling, I would really recommend, at the very least, go to the link in the top of the description, just look at the product, see what it's about, and if it interests you, you can hop on a call with us. We'll run you through the entire thing. You'll get all our training programs, direct access to us for 6 months. It's a very good offer. All right, what I'm gonna do here now is I don't know if this is technically cheating on the rules of this tutorial, but I want to add in a slice operation here. So that way I have this upper piece, it's like physically separated. So now when I go into this mode here, we actually have like a physically, separate like line right there from that slice operation. So this is looking pretty clean, if I'm honest. Now imagine I wasn't using, a MaterialWorks material. This doesn't even have to be our add-on, by the way. I'm just trying to make a point here. If you're just using a basic metallic material, it's just boring as hell, especially without a bevel. I mean, look at the difference here. But when you have a bevel on there, you have a real handcrafted metal texture. This is made by a professional materials designer. And then you have some grunge on there, some scratches. You make the metal look realistic. It's a night and day difference. This is the small, easy stuff you can tweak in your work to make it stand out. Yet 99% of people don't want to do it. They don't want to invest anything in their work. They just want they want everything to be done for free, which fair enough, but you're just going to have limitations on the quality of your work. So that's why I always recommend, using the right textures, materials, workflows, all that type of thing. So I mean, this is looking really nice so far, especially with that studio light. These studio lights are the best ones on the internet as far as I know. These are from Alex Senechal. He's a professional hard surface designer. He gave us permission to incorporate these into our add-on. We basically chose the 6 best ones, and these are, in my opinion, the best ones. These are realistic studio quality lights. That's why everything looks very nice in the viewport here. Let's continue the decaling process now. Let's go in and let's add in maybe one of these right here. This is like a emissive decal, which is super cool because I can just get in here and have like a cool emissive type of light. I'm going to delete out these decals here. Let's rotate that. Let's get in there, just put like a light right there. I could even make this larger if I'm honest. Just kind of position that really anywhere at this point. Maybe even right here. Now if your scene's a bit too laggy, you can actually go into regular material mode. Just because in rendered mode, it's gonna slow things down naturally. So you can just do that in material mode and it'll be faster. So I'm just gonna get rid of that actually. Let's go back into orthographic. I think it looks cooler in orthographic. And let's just keep dropping our decals on here. So we have all sorts of different ones. You can just pick and choose. I mean, there's like a virtually infinite amount to choose from. So you can just kind of go in here, see what you want. Let's go for like one of these ventilation ones right here. Because what I think we could do is put that right there. As a matter of fact, we could even put it here on this thing, because that kind of looks like it could be where you're gonna have like a ventilation. So I could delete that. I could drop that there. I also have like we have different options in here. You could choose like that one if you think that'll look better. I just get in, drop that, and there you go. It looks kind of cool, as you can see. So this is what we have so far right here. I can just, go into orthographic, turn off the overlays. This is looking pretty interesting. So let's just keep going. You could iterate on this for weeks and you'd probably have something that on paper would seem very advanced, but when you actually know what you're doing, it's not that crazy. It's just doing the same thing over and over again in a very simplified fashion. That's all it is. Like, please don't overcomplicate this workflow. It does take time to develop the eye to kind of see like where to place details. I won't deny that, but it won't take as long as you think, especially if you have, you know, the right training and the right help. So let's go back here to this thing. I'm going to drop that there in the back. Just going to scale that so it's more like a square pattern. I'm going to mirror that to the other side and just kind of scale that down. Let me take this detail, get that mirrored over. And let's see what other decal options we have. We have like emissive decals here you can use as well. This is more for like screens, so if you had like a glass screen or something like that, that could be kind of interesting. So I could actually add that in. I just don't know a good spot to put it. I don't know if it'll make sense for this particular object, but for example, let's go here. Let's add in, you know, I'm just going to do it for the fun of it. Let's go in here. Let's add in a piece of glass. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to scale that on the Y. I'm going to get in here. Excuse the thunder. It is raining here. Best time to model as well. Then we just get in here, we run a slice operation. Now what I can do here is I can just use hard ops to shift click on that. That will add in a glass material. Let me just make that like dark. I don't need this to be like a cyan color. So just 0, 0, 0. I guess that would be blue, wouldn't it? Anyways, we have a piece of glass right there. And then when I go into rendered mode, you're going to see that glass. Also, you can use Materialworks glass as well. That's probably a better idea because you can add the bevel to it. So you can actually filter here. You can go to the glass section. There's only 2 in here because you don't need a million different permutations of glass. There's a frosted glass option and a canopy glass option. Just drop some bevels on that. You could even get in here, add some scratches to the surface of the glass. So let me just wait for that to load in this mode. So I go to the wear option. Glass can have scratches on it, so it could be worth adding as like an extra visual effect. Or, you know, even something like that. You could just do these little dents right here. It has to compile for a little bit inside of material mode. So you could do that. You have some dents in there. You have, you know, a bit of scratches. I'll just drop that on because I want to maintain the realism on the entire look. So I'm just going to do this in material mode. It'll be easier. And maybe scratches won't work on that one. But this should honestly be fine. I can just go back into the rendered mode. The glass is going to have some like dents on there. It doesn't really matter that much. You could do like 0.1 on that or 0.02, so it's very subtle. And then let's just go in here. We could add in one of these cool information decals. It doesn't really matter which one you want to use. We just get in there. You can drop that on. Then you could kind of have that cool little like LED in there, whatever you want to call that. Battery, whatever that thing would be. Alright, so this is what we got, and if you were to show this to somebody, minus the functionality, this looks like a piece of technology. It looks like a real hard surface model. The design language is very good. The materials look clean. The lighting is on point. If you can just get those basic fundamentals down, it's so easy. Like, most people, to make something like this, it might take them 5 years. This should take you a week if you have the right training and the right help. But you need to learn how to use the tools, you need to learn how to think about design, you need to do all these things, or you're not going to get to that point. So again, guys, if you're getting value out of this video, let us help you. If you're getting value from a free video, I can guarantee you're going to get a ton of value from our Academy program. It's just going to happen. All right. So again, that'll be linked below. All right, let's continue with our decaling process. I'm going to get in here and just see what we have available. And if it looks good, it is going right on here. So let me add something here to this side. Just do RZZ90. Pretty much almost done, by the way. So I can project that. Actually, we don't even need like a detail right there. There's not too much left to add, if I'm honest, but I'll just see what I can do, see what I can work with. I just want like a small detail like this. You can kind of imagine like this detail I physically modeled in. You don't even need to model that in because like decals look exactly the same. I need to move that up, and then shrink wrap's messing up. Not too sure what's going on there, but it literally looks the same. This is real geometry, and this is a decal. So you don't always even need to model stuff in manually. It's just if you want to. So I could go in here and maybe that will work, kind of. So let me just get in. Let me move this back this way. We'll go ahead and do a basic shrink wrap. There we go. And this is essentially what we're working with right now. Very clean and pretty much almost done and good to go. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. This is pretty much the end of the challenge, and you can kind of see this is the final result. Default cube all the way to this, and I think I successfully completed that challenge. Wasn't as difficult as you might think. As long as you know how to model and you know how to design, everything else just falls into place very nicely here. Now before I end the video, I want you to think about a few things. I want you to think about how could I apply this workflow and turn it into something functional? How could I turn this into maybe a real product design, a real piece of concept art? How could I fake functionality? When you start thinking about these things in your head, you'll start strategically placing details in different areas without even noticing. And this will just make your modeling skills way, way better. This is the difference between someone who just knows the modeling tools and whips together some garbage and somebody who actually knows how to model with a purpose. Now again, this is something Ryu and I can personally help you with inside of our Hard Surface Academy program. We're going to give you all of our courses, so you'll learn the entire workflow just from that. And then you'll also get 6 months of personal help from Ryu and I directly. So you'll get anytime one-on-one calls if you need help, unlimited direct messaging, weekly calls. It's literally the best package if you want to get good at this stuff in a very short period of time and have access to help as well. So if you got any sort of value from this video, I would appreciate if you just dropped a thumbs up. And most importantly, if you got value from it, you're going to get way more from the Academy. That'll be linked in the top of the description or also in the pinned comment for more information. Thanks for watching today's video. Hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.